acceptance of minutes. Is what Jay mentioned, does that suffice, do you think?
I think so.
Okay. Review and acceptance of minutes, we'll start with the oldest, October 6th.
Motion to be accepted as written.
Did I have a second?
A second. Sorry.
Any comment? All in favor? So those will pass. Now the March 16th minutes.
Motion to be accepted as written.
Second.
Okay. Any comment? All in favor? Chair report, there is none. Code enforcement officers report.
No, I guess not.
Okay. Limited public forum, have you heard from anybody? Are there any questions or
I
anybody
know
want to
there's
speak?
people that are watching.
Okay.
There's been a few people that have called and asked about how to make sure they can see it.
All right.
I had one person that came in and wanted to know more about where this location was in relation to their house, and that was all.
Okay.
I did post this overlay on the website, and I'm hopeful that that will help, show people, especially the folks that were calling in from Drake's Lane, will be able to see the distance between their backyards, and this yellow line here is the fence, and then the red is the panels. So there's about, I measured here from the closest point, it was about 400 feet there's quite a bit of wooded area in there. I think right in this spot right here where there's some, where it looks kind of, that's where that stream is.
Yeah, some wetlands.
So at just the right angle, they might be able to see through, but I don't live there, I don't know. Without going in their backyards and taking pictures and looking around, I couldn't estimate.
So we'll open and close the limited public forum. There's no questions from anybody other than what we're going to talk about. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, proposed contract zone agreement to allow a 20-acre, 5-megawatt solar project in the Route 15, what's that, residential commercial?
Yep.
On lots identified on the town tax map 1, lot 3 and 5, and map 36, lot 5. The applicant is Amoresco.
So they presented last meeting with all the information on what they plan to do. We asked quite a few questions, about a half an hour worth of just questions from us, and then we had some questions from the public. But the big point of contention was that this type of solar is not in our ordinance. So I have to deem it as a power generation facility. And as a power generation facility, it's only allowed in the industrial zone. So I proposed that we change these 3 lots to industrial zone. And I was quickly rebuffed, and I believe, looking back on it, rightfully so, people had concerns that if we made that change and the solar ended up backing out, or if something else wanted to come in there 25 years from now when the solar was being taken out, that something they didn't want in their backyards might end up going in because it was zoned industrial. And I think that's a valid point that I hadn't really thought about. So we turned to the contract zone. We turned to that because we can allow this limited use in that, on those 3 lots. And it's specific to this company and this plan, and nobody else can come in and do something that isn't allowed in that zone without first coming to us and getting approval and all that, so. That's why we decided to go contract zone.
Why isn't this type of solar in the ordinance? What's the difference between this type and the,
I didn't write it, and I can't, all I can do is assume that it just never crossed Jeff's mind that this would come here, this kind of, because accessory solar,
Yeah.
such as like what's on the town garage,
yeah,
that is in the ordinance.
yeah?
That's not a power generation facility.
Is that any different than what's at the wastewater treatment plant?
Again, that's accessory use because it doesn't generate more power than the facility uses.
Okay,
Once you start generating more than you need,
yeah,
you become a power generation facility.
yeah,
At that point, you're a different definition than accessory use.
yeah,
Unfortunately, accessory use solar is the only definition of solar that's in our ordinance.
all right.
So I have to go to this power generation facility. Power generation facility, I think when that was written, they were thinking gas turbine and paper mill.
Right,
They weren't thinking about a solar farm.
yeah.
I know we had mentioned before we left that we needed to address it, so.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's nobody's fault, it's just, this is where we are. We can also amend the Schedule A, land use ordinance to fix that, but it will take just as long and maybe longer because we'll wanna spend several meetings narrowing down the language and figuring out all the little details and stuff. It's not as simple as just changing the ordinance, so.
Right.
You guys know, you've been involved in changing ordinances, so, for that reason, it seemed like the contract zone was the best way to go. But ultimately, it's your decision. So we can discuss that tonight, and then, if you choose to move forward, we can have a public hearing next month and a final vote. And the last thing I'll say on that is, I did send out a lot of letters again this month. Those letters had a fairly lengthy explanation that I tried to make real generic terms so everybody would understand this is what a contract zone is, this is why we're looking at this versus what I proposed before. I asked them, if you have questions, please email and call me before the meeting. It's not to say that they can't email and call now. That should be being flashed on the screen. I do have an email, so let me just see. But I didn't get anything like that prior to this. I just had a couple people contact me that wanted to know more about how to watch the meeting, and that one lady wanted to know where her house was in relation to the project.
I, for one, would hope we could hear from every single abutter. I know that's wishing for a lot, but I think we absolutely need their input on this. Every abutter of this proposed property.
We can't force them.
No, we can't.
No, you can't.
Just for guidance, as far as I'm concerned, for guidance, I would like to hear from every property abutter.
Well, and if we get, that would be the public hearing. We've had public hearings that I expected the room to be full,
Yeah,
and one
Exactly.
person showed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, if I were in a butter, I would have an opinion,
Yep.
and I would show up.
Well, I don't know if it's just the butters, I think it's people with line of sight.
Well, I would have something to say.
Have they provided a line of sight map that shows the people who will have line of sight of the arrays?
They have not, we didn't ask for it. We
It'd
asked-
be easy to generate.
Yeah, we asked for this at the last meeting, and they provided this. They had the layout like that, and then we had Google Earth, but we didn't have the two connected, so they gave us this overlay. As far as line of sight, I think that, you know, down here, it's fairly wooded on this hill, and I don't know that you'll see much, and even if you did, there's no really houses down here. These folks up here, boy, I just don't, I don't know, these folks, maybe this is a rental unit.
It's a steep hill up and through there.
Yeah, and they're not gonna be cutting all these trees or anything in here, they're saying. This house here, I think, is gonna have a view. They're proposing to plant trees all along that fence in this area. But my concern with that was, how long is it gonna take for those trees to grow up to
Right, it'll be,
you know, unless we have them plant, you know,
Giant
mature
trees.
trees, or, you know, adolescent trees at least. And that gets quite expensive, but that's our choice, or your choice, I should say. As far as these folks on Drake's Lane, I honestly feel like they really probably don't have a lot to worry about.
They'll really, okay,
It's a
that's
pretty
all
good
right.
distance. These ones here, I don't really know. Maybe, I don't know about these few right here. And I don't know how easy it would be for them to generate that line of sight that you're talking about, because it's all wooded right now and the panels aren't there, so
Right.
I don't know.
No, it's just
not
done
my-
on GIS. You just need to know the height of the panels, and they'll outline it on the GIS app, and
Well, the
it'll
top of the panels,
project it
supposedly,
instantly.
didn't you say the top angled part, the highest would be 12 feet, I thought he said?
yeah, 10 to 12 feet, I think.
And, you know, I know that those trees around here and stuff are taller than that.
yeah, yeah.
But I do feel like if you're right here, you're gonna be able to look through and see. And these people right here, that's an in-ground pool where my cursor is right now.
Yeah, 12 feet to the top of the panel.
So I do feel like this house here is probably the hardest hit. And I don't know who that is, I haven't heard from them. But again, I've sent out 2 detailed letters now, and if we have another meeting about this, I'll be sending out another one, asking for input and letting them know everything I know about it.
It says Edwin McCoy Jr.?
That's who that one is. Yeah, I
For
don't
that,
know, I don't know
yeah.
him. And I haven't heard from him. So, in my next letter, I didn't have this when I sent out the last one, but I'll probably try and get some color prints of this and send this with the letter. That might help. You know, pique their curiosity, or at least give them something to look at so they can see how it relates to their house. I think this is very helpful. I'm glad you guys asked for it.
Well, I asked, I don't know if it was the engineer or someone else, if it would be visible from the road. And I believe his answer was there were a few different places where it could be.
Yeah.
But he thought that with some buffering on their part, it would obscure all of that.
I think it definitely will be down here by
I
the.
think by the entrance you'll see it.
Yeah.
And I think if you're driving along here, you'll be able to look up across the power line and see this part. But again, I don't know that anybody cares when they're just driving.
And they're not really unsightly. I mean,
You know, it's when
Heck.
you're at your house that, you know, you don't want
Exactly.
to necessarily be staring at that.
And I was worried about any noise generated or, heat generated or
Yeah, I
anything.
don't think there's heat, but noise, again, it's those transformers. I've never heard anybody complain about that, but, you know, short of going to one of these facilities and seeing how loud it is, I don't know. I've driven by them, but I've never
Hmm.
gone in one. I could-
Same, yeah.
I could, talk to some of my code buddies and find out if one of them has one of these facilities we could look at if we're interested.
I'm trying to think what could possibly generate sound or noise from this, other than, say, the transformer.
I think that's it.
I mean, I
Other
can't
than during
believe
construction.
it's not like you've got wind going through a windmill.
No, no, they don't
That-
generate noise like that.
These things are designed to attract and hold in heat. Although, I can't believe that they would put off, because any heat they put off, they've lost.
Right, that's wasted energy.
So I'm sure it's designed so that any heat that they attract stays there.
We could find out that just by going over to the waste treatment plant, putting our hands on those panels and see if they're hot. Maybe not this week, maybe in a couple of weeks. But the engineers are watching. So if there's something you really want them to call in with, I'm sure they will. But I told them they didn't need to drive up here tonight for this because. they
I
just-
thought they gave a good presentation. I mean, it really enlightened me on some of this. Again, my biggest interest right now is what do the abutters think? That's my number one thing right now is what do the abutters think about
Well, if you're not getting any calls, I guess we
it.
know.
Yeah.
All right, well, assuming that the abutters are okay with it, how do you feel about this contract zone and moving forward with that?
How many times have you used this contract zone?
I never have, this was my first.
Okay.
You guys did it for my cause with the mobile home park,
Uh-huh.
and Brian pointed out last meeting that you guys did it once on Main Street for a lady, and I guess you got scolded by the DEP for,
When this is used, it's very specific.
yes.
It's for this use and this use only, basically.
Yeah. So again, it's like Mr. Chairman was saying here, if these guys decide to move out in 10 years or whatever, and because it's zoned for whatever, someone totally new that could come in that's completely different than that, so.
If we changed it to industrial and these folks either didn't go or they moved out, you could put a meat packing plant in there.
Uh-huh.
You could put a paper mill right there.
Yeah.
You could do anything, a trash burning plant.
But
Uh,
at the same time, in the same way, it's kind of a slippery slope. Are we gonna do contract zones for every person who wants to do one of these? And they're increasingly popular. How many did you just say you've done recently for, Orland?
Solar?
Yeah.
Oh, I did 2 in Orland and 1 in Prospect, and then this one, and I guess Prospect's looking at a second one at the same property owner. Yeah.
It's
But
for
I
that
also
reason
hope
it
that
need-
We're going to get that ordinance updated.
Yeah, it needs to be at the ordinance level
That would
eventually.
take care of the issue.
Right,
Yeah.
so hopefully we won't have to deal with this again as a contract zone. It would just be yay or nay, do they meet the ordinance? And I wrote a rough draft of that ordinance during the COVID thing, but these folks never told us, and it's not, the engineers, I guess, were told by AIM not to, but they never told us that this was being developed or anything. And then all of a sudden, they came in and were like, hey, we want to talk to you about this thing that we've been working on for 2 years. And we're like, wow, we could have been ready if we'd known, but we didn't.
Any idea what this does to the town as far as any sort of contribution, tax contribution?
It's complicated in the state. They don't want to make these outfits pay personal property tax on the equipment.
Yeah,
So they still have to pay the real estate tax on the land.
yeah.
And then what they propose is a pilot payment, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. And the way he explained it at the last meeting was that the payment would be, I can't remember how much per megawatt. He anticipated 4.5 megawatts,
Yeah, I saw
And
the
it came to
food.
$13,000.
It was in the minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was like a 12 or 13,000.
Yeah, it was 13,000 a year, I don't know what that was per megawatt, but it was, frankly, I didn't think that was that much really for, but,
No, I
You know,
thought
I
that
don't know.
was,
but if that's what the state puts through as what we're allowed to charge, then that, we don't really have a say.
and there was some talk about the school district being able to purchase
Well, they
power.
can, anybody can, you can if you want to, buy these credits. It's very similar to, I'm sure you've gotten the phone calls from people saying, you know, rather than buy your electricity from CMP's standard offer, you can get your power through this group or whatever. That's basically what you're doing, you're getting your electricity from a different outfit at a different rate. You still pay CMP for the transmission.
But other than that, there's no benefit to the town.
The town had already signed a contract for 3 years with another company, so we can't get out of that for at least 3 years. The RSU, my understanding is they are looking at it, I don't think they've made any decisions. No.
Is this the last piece of property that AIM owns? They still have the dump, right?
No. Well, yes, they've got the landfill, they've got the wood yard,
Yeah.
they've got some large chunks of land over on, between Silver Lake and the wood yard. There's some big chunks of land in there.
The aqueduct.
Yes, and that big lot that I'm talking about connects to the little strip that has the pump station and the water line.
Mm.
And it's amazing how much the mill owned. Little pieces here, there, and his pieces over in Orland that
Yeah, I'm just
they
wondering,
own.
why they said don't communicate and what other surprises we're gonna have in store for us from them.
I don't know.
good question right there.
I just,
I wonder if it was just simply that they didn't want anybody else to get the idea and scoop them. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
assuming
not
they
accusing
didn't.
them of anything,
I know.
I wonder.
I wish Jeff had, because Jeff did ask me about solar, and he even mentioned this property, but then he never said another word about it, so I just assumed that was an idea he had, and then he dropped it. And if he had told me, hey, we're gonna move forward with this, get ready.
again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he stepped down now.
He did.
Yeah, well, he was spending a lot of time home with his family during this COVID shutdown, and he decided he liked it, so. Can't blame him there.
Yeah, really.
So,
Priorities.
Okay, what's next?
you guys have decided you wanna move forward, I guess. I'll just check, make sure I haven't gotten any emails, because the phone hasn't rung. No email.
Well, there's no reason not to move forward, apparently.
So no one's contacted, no emails, no messages, no phone calls?
Nothing.
Yeah, I guess if the people that live right around it aren't going to say anything,
I guess this isn't the last opportunity to speak up, correct?
the public hearing would be.
There'd still be another opportunity.
So, it's not something that we would finalize today. And I believe it like you said, goes to the city council,
Right.
and I think they have a public hearing as well. And, the Hawes contract, the city council, the town council, made changes to our agreement,
Oh,
so.
so yeah, there'll be more opportunities, but it'd be better for everybody if they came forward
Sooner rather than
sooner.
later. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be right now during this meeting, but if you're watching this, either live or recorded, call me at the office, ask your questions, I can forward questions to the board, and, or I can forward questions to the engineers.
Like,
and get the answers that you're looking for.
like Jay said, I'd really love to hear from at least some of them, and whether they like it or they hate it.
That's all I wish to know, are you a yay or a nay?
There is a significant amount of paperwork with the contract zone as well. I mean, do we have a written contract?
No.
Written out yet?
No,
We don't
I would
yet?
have
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I would do that, and I would have a lawyer look at it and whatnot, but I didn't think we were to that point where I
Okay.
needed to write that yet.
No, it's not, no sense doing it if we're gonna say no.
And there is a level two, like approval we need to do as well.
There is some
So-
sort of an approval.
With something like this, there would have to be.
Correct, yeah, that's a separate approval, first the contract zone, and then,
And then that, okay.
I mean, it can take place at the same time, it could be the same meeting, but it
Yeah.
would be a separate approval. Where you'd have to go down through your findings of fact, does this, you know,
So do you want a vote on the decision to move forward?
I don't even know if you need to, it's up to you folks. I've not done a contract zone before.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
remember, to
think the
be honest
minutes
with you.
showed a vote prior, it just, if you want to continue, then we'll continue.
Well, I think the most important thing is it a benefit to the town?
Not a lot of money in it.
No, I know,
Not a lot.
and it's in somebody's backyard, but really, is it a benefit?
But it also hugs a power line
Yep.
and a bark dump. And I've walked all through all that, with people camping out up in there, and I've been in all through that area, and there's nothing there. So,
The thing too is, doesn't matter whether we like it or don't like it. It's up to us to decide whether it meets the rules or not, you know?
Right.
And if they meet all the things that are required of them, then they can do it. You can come to me with blueprints for a house that I think is absolutely ugly, but if it meets all the codes, I have to give you a permit. I can't say, no, I don't like that.
No, that's true, but this is contract zoning, and it's up to us if we want to move it forward.
That's true.
Okay, so this is a time to decide if this is something that's gonna be beneficial to the town, or is it something we just have to say yes to, and then follow through with all the meetings?
well, we did it with the Haas development, that was a very specific case, and that is proving to be very beneficial for housing.
Has anybody moved in there yet? Like,
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like there's
Yes.
a few
Everybody.
spots in there. you know.
Are people moving in?
Ton of, yeah,
There's
there's,
about 10 in there right now.
I've never been down in
and
there, but.
There's a bunch more that are waiting on their houses, that they're being held up because
A lot
of
of-
materials and
COVID.
and stuff, so.
Every time I drive by, I wanna go in, but I.
You should.
Yeah.
That's
There's
fantastic.
a lot of lots.
I mean, I've hiked down there, it's very nice.
Yeah, he does look, it looks like he's doing a great job.
I mean, it
But
really
anyways, the
is.
scale, thinking about that and that subject matter, that proved to be a good use of this contract zone scenario. I know we're talking residential and a commercial application, but I'm just saying.
Well, and that had issues as well. I mean, there were concerns how close to the lake it was and all of that,
Yep.
and then run off into the lake.
Right.
And so there are concerns here too. This,
And in that case, the neighbors actually opposed it too.
yeah, there were several that
Yeah.
came in, it's right across from my driveway and that.
They didn't want it, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But
Very far from your driveway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He sent somebody else in. I think.
Yeah. There'll be a no air brake sign up soon.
Keeping you up at night?
Yeah. But that's turned out to work out good. I'm just saying, for a use of what we're doing, that worked out good. We went through the process, it all played through, and that worked out well. So, I mean, maybe we should just allow this to take its course with the process and move forward with the contract zone scenario.
Yeah, we could say yes to move forward, and there's half a dozen things that could change
Yes.
as we go along.
Yes.
So, I guess without really taking a vote, but anybody have objections to moving forward? Okay.
let's see where it goes.
Where are we now? Administrative business. None. discussion, and then 10, number 10 on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Before you guys leave, does anybody have any questions about